Historically, the Vatican has been a religious center in the world. The Vatican formally recognized the Republic of China, or Taiwan, as the sole representative of China in 1951 and ceased its contact with the People's Republic of China. In 1957, the Chinese Communist Party established the Chinese Catholic Patriotic Association, the CCPA, which does not follow Vatican's leadership. CCPA appoints its own clergy and oversees the Catholic Church in China's mainland. Catholic churches that still follow the direction of the Vatican were forced to go underground. In August 2015, China's first assistant bishop, Bishop Zhang Yingling, was consecrated and recognized by both the Vatican and the CCPA. In PRC, there are the Chinese Catholic Patriotic Association and the Bishops' Conferences of Catholic Church in China, and 5.5 million members in China affiliated themselves with both organizations in 2014. The Vatican's Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin, is also known as the Wang Qishan of Catholic Church, a term coined by Mr. Miles Guo. Cardinal Parolin brokered a provisional agreement between the Vatican with the Chinese Communist Party. Pope Francis wanted the Chinese Catholic community to submit to the leadership of CCP. Ironically, CCP has always upheld atheism and demolished Catholic churches. However, it is now cooperating with the Vatican. We could not help but wonder what exactly CCP is up to. On May 12, 2019, CCP-controlled Global Times sent two special correspondents, Francisco Sisi and Zhang Yu, to conduct an exclusive interview with the Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, during his participation in the Beijing Horticulture International Exhibition. The interview appeared in English and no Chinese version was available. This is the first time a Chinese newspaper has interviewed the Vatican, yet no Chinese media covered this event. Obviously, the English report on the exclusive interview was intended for the international audience so that the world knows that the CCP is collaborating with the Vatican. Based on that, Catholic followers may trust CCP because of Vatican's endorsement. Meanwhile, GT chose not to publish the reports in China so that average Chinese could be kept in the dark. It would be self-contradictory when Chinese citizens are aware of the fact that CCP is working with the Vatican on the one hand, demolishing Catholic churches and intimidating Catholic followers on the other hand. The CCP-promoted atheism is a total hypocrisy. In the age of the internet, as long as a piece of news is published, there will be traces. On May 14, 2019, a translated version was released by a blogger on Sina. It is difficult to determine whether the translation was prepared, but more facts will surface when we evaluate information from other sources. Cardinal Parolin mentioned in the interview that on September 22, 2018, the Holy See and PRC signed a provisional agreement on the appointment of bishops. He added, both sides were well aware that this is a point reached only after a long journey, but above all, a starting point that now opened a new phase of enhanced cooperation. The channels of communication are working well. Cardinal Parolin made these statements in a vague and abstract manner. What were clear to both sides? What terms were reached between both sides? Why couldn't he, as a religious leader, openly discuss the details of this agreement? Based on the limited information above, we could infer that Pope Francis is for the agreement and advocates the localization and Chineseness of religion. Pope Francis endorses CCP leaders and believes that the CCP leadership respect the essence and teachings of religion. The dialogue between the Vatican and CCP was mainly at the pastoral level. He trusted and respected the Chinese people and the Chinese culture, and called for mutual understanding and listening to each other. The signing of this provisional agreement sparked international controversy. As Cardinal Joseph Zen, the Catholic Church from Hong Kong, put it, we should forgive but not forget. On October 21, 2020, the Vatican went on to renew this agreement with Beijing for another 2 years, despite the international controversy it sparkles. Vatican's attempt to work with the CCP, a regime that violates religious freedom, is a doomed petition, like asking a tiger for its hide. In his reply, Cardinal Parolin said clearly that the two sides did not discuss their respective systems, nor did they touch upon historic issues. Instead, both sides wanted to practice their faith peacefully. GD's correspondents praised the Vatican for helping China earn recognition with its fight against organ trafficking. Parolin believed that issues such as peace, the fight against poverty, environmental and climatic emergencies, migration, the ethics of scientific development, and the economic and social progress of peoples call for positive cooperation. It is odd to fathom that a meeting between the atheistic CCP and the Vatican can go without discussing the differences in their systems and the status of Chinese Catholic believers under CCP's rule. Instead, they were talking about combating organ trafficking. How can you help with that cause? In what means? And to what goals are you working to achieve? In his interview with the Global Times, Cardinal Parolin highlighted his fond memories of China by saying it was a spring Sunday, a day spent in Assisi with the Chinese delegation. What kind of a day it was, I wonder. I could not identify what he was referring to, but the following information could give us some ideas regarding how the Vatican colluded with the CCP. During the period between 2007 and 2009, Cardinal Parolin had regular contacts with Beijing and the Vatican's representative. Later, the negotiation was at a standstill. In 2013, Francis became the Pope and appointed Parolin as the Holy See's Secretary of State. CCP allowed the Vatican to pass over China's airspace. Pope Francis showed a desire to cooperate with the CCP, and Cardinal Parolin, well aware of the Pope's intention, began to engage with the CCP. On October 5, 2016, Pope Francis met for the first time Bishop Hong Genxu from the CCP-controlled Chinese Catholic Patriotic Association. On January 24, 2018, the media reported that the Vatican had conceded to CCP on the appointment of bishops. On February 2, 2018, PRC amended its regulations on religious affairs to explicitly require facilities hosting religious activities to register with the authorities. On September 22, 2018, Vatican News announced that the Vatican and PRC reached a provisional agreement on the appointment of bishops. On October 3, 2018, Jin Caiguo and Xiao Qingyang attended the Vatican's World Synod of Bishops on behalf of Bishops' Conference of Catholic Church in China, and Pope Francis warmly welcomed them. Pope Francis was almost in tears when meeting them. Guo extended an invitation to Francis to visit China. On June 19, 2019, Peking University hosted a lecture to introduce for the first time Pope Francis' global perspective and vision. On November 29, 2019, Pope Francis concluded his trip to Asia and said, "I really want to go to Beijing. I love China." Yet, a day before Pope Francis' statement, a Catholic church in Jian, Jiangxi, China, hung Xi Jinping's portrait in the center of the church and CCP propaganda slogans on both sides. The church's holy statue, cross, and other items were discarded in the corner. In 2019, during the anti-extradition bill rallies and demonstrations in Hong Kong, Pope Francis and the Vatican were slow to take a stand, turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to the evil acts of CCP, saying that demonstrations were too common to assess. On June 29, 2020, when interviewed by Bannon's War Room program, Mr. Guo Wengui revealed that the Vatican has signed several secret agreements with the CCP and that the Vatican receives an alarming $2 billion annually in bribes and political benefits from CCP. Parolin has been acting an agent of CCP in the Vatican. On April 11, 2021, Italian prosecutors announced charges that Parolin allegedly acted outside his legal authority when he invested hundreds of millions of euros of church funds. On April 14, 2021, Pope Francis reiterated the importance of prayer. The breath of faith is prayer. When we learn to pray, faith grows with us, Pope Francis said. The enemy wants to crack down the church, and the first steps he takes is to dry up its fountains and prevent it from praying. Pope Francis knows little about CCP. When the enemy is cracking down the church, it does not prevent you from praying, but it demands you to pray to CCP leaders' portrait rather than God. CCP has intensified its persecution of church followers soon after the signing of the Provisional Agreement. This agreement did not bring about prosperity for Catholic churches in China, but instead more suffering. The essence of the Chinicization of Catholicism is actually the recognition of the CCP's leadership. CCP aims to simulate the dark medieval period of church-state unity. Making deals with the CCP is essentially heading towards the hell. The lamp of faith brings light, and it can only be sustained by the oil of prayers. Whether Pope Francis and Cardinal Parolin are sustaining the Catholic doctrine or continuing their dealings with the evil and satanic CCP, one day the secrets will all be revealed.